This hour, we start with one word. And instead of me just spelling it out for you, let me show you a clip or two. Let's start here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, have you guessed the word yet? That, of course, was President Joe Biden, confused once again and stumbling his way toward the exit after giving remarks at FEMA, except he went the wrong way. You can actually hear the FEMA administrator, Deanne Criswell, she tries to get him back, Mr. President, but no avail. Senile Joe, he was on his way. He wasn't turning back. He thought there'd be Captain Crunch on the other end of that rainbow. And that video is the perfect metaphor for America right now under the Biden administration's leadership, if you can call it that, confused, disoriented, and stumbling around in the wrong direction, making everything worse and acting past its prime. Well past the expiration date anyway, in the case of the president, that's for sure. Have you thought of the word yet? Anything come to mind? I'm sure there are a few that you've thought of, but top of mind, probably not a dead member of Congress's name. The word, of course, incompetence. No, not incontinence, incompetence. Although, because that is what the Biden administration is. And the Democrats, they don't care. They seem to love it. In fact, these socialist clowns have demonstrated over the last 14 years since President Obama was in office, and perhaps further back than that, they don't really know what they're doing, but just they love having power. And don't worry, I'm not letting Republicans off the hook today either. They've been incompetent, just as incompetent from time to time in different ways. What we're witnessing is the collapse of America's leadership class, and we're watching in real time. It's all because they have overestimated themselves in terms of ability, intelligence, and yes, in terms of just general competence. Greatly, as it turns out, and underestimated you. Let me explain. The United States is in a recession, even though we have no earthly reason to be. The revised GDP numbers show us that that's just the way it is. But the media still doesn't want to admit it. You can see the headline from CNN here. They're saying it only supports one definition of a recession. Oh, supporting one definition. What they should have said there is there actually is only one definition of a recession. What other definition is there? Chicken Noodle News. But with this story, we see an example of the elites overestimating themselves again and underestimating you continuously, or just dismissing you altogether. They think they are so smart, they're so sanctimonious, aren't they, that they can control the narrative and control your thoughts too. They also refuse to admit this recession was brought on by the terrible policies they pushed President Biden to enact. They aren't working, of course, but they also refuse to admit that because they know how great they are. Just ask them. They'll tell you. They also think you are dumber than a box of sticks and enough to fall for these tricks.